So why are ball pythons so expensive? Hey guys, it's Sal from House of Guy Pythons. So in today's video, I just wanted to kind of go over why I believe ball pythons are so expensive and kind of why they're worth that amount of money. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I kind of wanted to go over is the time and effort that goes forth into producing ball pythons. So just starting off from first buying snakes, most of which are going to be hatchling size. So in order to raise those snakes, I'll go into kind of what we need in order to raise them, or rats. So when we're feeding our animals, whether you're using rats, ASFs, or mice, or whatever, they are very expensive. So, you know, if you're only buying for one snake once a week, it's not that pricey, especially depending where your source is. But when you're feeding multiple animals and you're a breeder, that price can really hit high amounts every month.
I'll make it rain all day long.
You know, even for me, I don't even have that many animals, but to keep up with my collection even, especially when all the snakes are really feeding hard during breeding season, it gets super pricey. So you have to remember that if a breeder is buying into a hatchling and getting that hatchling to size, for some females, that's taking 2 or 3 years. And then for males, it could be a year or two, whatever, depending on the male. Some will go obviously earlier than that. But the point is that we're feeding that one animal 3 or 4 times a month at least. Some people will feed a little bit more than that when they're hatchlings. That's one thing I wanted to bring out, is that aspect of how much it costs just to bring those hatchlings to adult size to get ready to breed. Another thing to bring up is not all ball pythons are going to breed at those magical times of, you know, a certain weight or a certain age. You know, there are plenty of people I've spoken to, and as well as within my own collection and my past collection. You know, we have that number of, oh, the female should breed around 1,500 grams, the male should breed around 700-800 grams. That's not always the case.
Something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
So sometimes when people are spending a large amount of money on a snake and they have this plan in their head, okay, well, I should be able to breed it in 2 or 3 years. Sometimes a female doesn't want to go. So if it's taking us 5 years to get that animal to finally give us a clutch, those are years that you're kind of missing out on either producing animals to hold back or producing animals to sell to further your collection, so you can bring money back into it. So that's just more of that rat money we were talking about, where it's, you know, you're not getting that return right away as you planned. So sometimes that return takes a lot longer to get back. Housing for these snakes. So obviously you're not going to put hatchling in a 70 series tub, so you need to have multiple size tubs in order to raise these snakes up. As we all know, racks are very expensive, or can be very expensive, and even on the cheaper end, it's still going to cost a lot. And especially when you're a breeder and you have multiple snakes you're taking care of, typically you're going to try to get as many tubs as you can in a rack, because you know you're going to outgrow the system at some point. So it's another thing to keep in mind of why ball pythons are so expensive. They do cost a lot to raise up. Now we've gone over rats and housing, and already there, you know, that price point is starting to climb already. Another thing to keep in mind is, you know, some larger scale breeders, you know, this is their full-time job. I mean, I can't speak from experience for that, obviously, but if you're doing this 5 to 7 days a week, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, or whatever the case is, you know, they're looking at this as their full-time job, and they are putting in that effort, just as much effort as anyone else does at work. You know, we love all these animals, and, you know, like, even for me, when I come to the snake shop, at least once a week, I try to take out an animal and enjoy it, and just like completely zone out, forget about the breeding aspect, and just enjoy the animals, because that's why I got into this. But it can be hard sometimes when it is your full-time job. You have to remember that every minute that you're in here counts. Like, you should be doing something, whether it's cleaning poo, taking weights, taking records. I mean, all that goes into it, and so much more. Feedings, you know, checking on incubation, making sure temperatures are good, making sure probes are in the proper placement, humidity, all that stuff basically. It is a full-time job. So you know, there has to be some return for all that amount of work. And I don't want to sell anyone short who isn't doing this full time, because even more respect to them. They are working full-time jobs, and any little time they have extra, they're putting it into the snake room. And you know, raising these snakes and all the stuff I mentioned, the cleaning and taking care of everything. So, you know, I don't want to leave them out, including myself, because it takes a lot of work. And I think people, I love YouTube and I love Instagram, but we always post the best things and the easiest things, but not a lot of the time do we get to see how much time and effort goes into this. All right, so let's go over the rarity of the genetics. So I think this plays a huge part in it as well. And I would say almost more so like the bulk of why ball pythons can be so expensive. So whatever snake you're purchasing, you have to remember that the parents of that snake, the dame and sire, probably cost either the same amount or quite a bit more possibly when they were originally purchased years prior. So, you know, let's say if you're getting a snake for 500, for all we know, the parents when they were originally purchased could have cost the breeder twice or 3 times as much as that. Because there's always new genes coming out, just like anything in life, the more rare something is, the more it's gonna cost. So if you're looking into new genetics, it makes sense that they would cost more because there aren't as many on the market, and it kind of falls under supply and demand, just like anything else in the world. I definitely wanted to point out, especially recessive projects, you know, some of them just take so long to achieve.
This took you 80 years to achieve.
And especially nowadays where we're getting into double recessives and, you know, heavily stacked codom dominant type recessive projects. A lot of these snakes we're seeing that are in that high-end price range, let's say 2,500 or more, let's just say there. A lot of those snakes, sometimes they take multiple clutches. So even if you're lucky and you get that female to breed at 2.5 or 3 years old, whatever it is, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna hit the odds on the first clutch. There are plenty of big breeders out there that I've just heard this repeated on YouTube. You know, I missed this year, I missed last year. Hopefully next year I'll be able to hit that combo I'm looking for. So you have to remember, it seems short, but when you're in the grind and you're in the snake room every day, 3 years can actually, it does take, I don't want to say it takes a toll, but it takes a lot of patience to be
Today, Junior?
To be willing to keep trying on that same project over and over for 3 years straight. So you have to imagine that when you finally do hit it, you really don't want to sell it. The only reason you're putting that out there on the market is because you're saying like, this is the kind of take it or leave it price. Like if I don't sell it, I'll keep it. So that's why you're seeing a lot of those higher prices, I believe anyway. All of this stuff is my opinion. But I believe that's why you're seeing these higher prices. It's kind of the take it or leave it price, where it's like, if it doesn't sell, no big deal. If it does, great. I can put more money into the collection, whether it's to buy more rats or whether it's to buy another snake, whatever. You know, it's just a circle that keeps going. So to kind of go off that too, I just wanted to talk about world firsts. Sometimes we hear world firsts a lot. And nowadays, it's world firsts are getting kind of harder to come by. You really got to start stacking stuff in order to get world firsts. Plus, there's a lot of people who just who aren't on social media like a lot of other people. So sometimes it may not actually be a world's first, just in terms of social media or what we can find on Morph Market. But the thing is when you do hit a world's first, again, like I was saying earlier, it's rare. So of course, any animal that's going to be the first ever shown or produced is going to cost more just because it's so rare. There isn't any other in the world at the time it was produced. Another thing I would want to bring up is a snake that just has either an excellent quality or looks super different.
Now that's what I call high quality A2O.
So anything like that too, where it's unusual looking for the combo it is, you can usually charge a bit more, or if it just looks like the quality is really top notch. You know, then that's one thing I feel like that has been pushed further nowadays, which is awesome. You know, you can charge a little bit more for the quality because you can visually see how much nicer it is than other ones that have been produced with the same combination. I also wanted to talk about the fact that not all ball pythons are expensive. So kind of on a final note, there are plenty of nice combos for under $500. If you do your research, you just hop on Morph Market. For someone who just wants a pet snake, there are so many options. Like nowadays, and I say nowadays like I'm an old man, but nowadays compared to before, the level of the uniqueness of snakes that you can get for under 500 is outstanding compared to when we're talking like mid 90s to early 2000s or whatever. There wasn't as many options as there are now. I don't want to be discouraging in saying that, like, I didn't make this video to make a point that all ball pythons are expensive, because I don't believe they are. There are plenty that are really nice, and there's some even as low as like under 200 that you can get that are amazing. Like I just want to say, like, I know a lot of people either hate or love Banana, but to someone who isn't a breeder and who's just getting into ball pythons, Banana is a perfect example of that. You can pick up a male Banana, I'm sure, for $200, $300, whatever. And they just look outstanding, and they age really awesome too. For someone who, once again, who doesn't understand fully all the genetics that are available, just seeing a Banana ball python for the first time can be pretty breathtaking. Same with like bells, stuff like that. So there are plenty of animals like that, and for something that's gonna live 20 plus years and bring, a lot of enjoyment and a lot of conversation for when people come over, especially if you have it in like a PVC enclosure with a nice plexi panel where they can actually see and you can set it up really nice. Nothing starts a conversation better than having an all white snake with blue eyes, or a yellow and lavender snake, that has all this black polka dotting. People get interested into that type of stuff. So I just wanted to bring that out there, that not all ball pythons are expensive. Some can be, but that's just what makes the hobby interesting, and it makes it so anyone out there can afford a nice ball python now. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I think ball pythons are so expensive. Of course, everything I always say in my videos is my own opinion. I'm always open to conversation, and if you think otherwise, please leave a comment down below. I love chatting about this kind of stuff. You can also find me on Instagram at House of Gaia Pythons. So if anyone wants to chat about it, I'm really open to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Please don't forget to stay positive and focused out there, and do me a huge favor, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Saturday.